and welcome. Thank y'all for waiting. Thank y'all for joining to the Paul and John podcast or stream. This is the stream. Sorry, earlier we are doing a video. It was the podcast, so the PB and J stream.
Maybe when you introduce shit like that from now on, we should do this thing where you go, "Thank you for joining the Paul," and then I can say, "And John."
Oh, there you go. Really confuse
Yeah,
them.
right. Uh,
Well, I'm John. He's Paul, and we got
oh,
another
is it?
fun-filled night of gym fails and just talking fitness and exercise. As always, if y'all got any questions or comments, hit us up on either direct whisper to us here on Twitch or find us on YouTube or directly email us on our website. But while we kind of let it simmer, you said you were feeling a little bit better. You're having some health issues on top of your.
Just I think I was getting some kind of a sinus thing or something, and then we went and got our vaccines.
Well, we got that
If you're
nice.
not into vaccines, it's cool,
No.
whatever. If you're not into them, let me be candid and say it's none of my concern.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you are into them, um, I think I was already getting a little seasonal sickness, and then went and got the vaccines, and you have a reaction to those,
You
so
get
it
a
was
double whammy.
a little bit exacerbated for a couple of days.
Well, I don't know. I'm
Um,
not sure how it is where you are, but I know there's like a was it the northeastern or something coming through the U.S. or some big weather system coming through the U.S. right now.
mhm.
So I know our weather's gonna drastically like we had a big drastic weather change where it was like 70s, 80s, and then it dropped down to like the 40s, and then it creeped back up to the 60s and 70s, and I think it's gonna drop
Yeah.
back down to the 40s. So I know that can cause kind of hell for allergies and
Mm.
just general well
Yeah.
being.
Yeah, it was a little unwelcome, but it's fine now, so
I don't
whatever.
know if that's ever welcomed, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, I'm glad
Um,
you're kicking and the house is back to normal.
yeah,
I
yeah,
hope the
things are
house is back to
good.
normal. Yeah, slide the mouse over here real quick, and let me see how we're gonna do this. We go options. Y'all gotta see all how the cheese is made, or is it sausage? Here we
I
are.
have no comment on that.
Windows. Oh, I didn't even prep it, man. I got so excited. I didn't even prep it. I'm gonna take it out of my pay. All right, so where are
I'll reach out to the payroll department.
we? Right. Oh no, where did it put it?
You never want to hear that question.
Right. We may just have to. Let's see here. So the problem when I start something new, I don't realize where file file extensions lead to.
Mm-hmm.
Hope I think I'm messing with the stream, but we'll have to deal with it.
But
We do it live. There it is. Users. This may take longer than expected. We may have to do the raw video.
oh, well, that's okay.
That'll be all right. We don't need to wait that long. Let me open that up then. Make sure that's on pause.
While John's looking for that,
Yeah.
I want to take a second to reiterate and reaffirm to anyone that might be watching, when we talk about gym fails, we are not doing that to get what we both feel are the unnecessary reaction kind of videos. It's not to make fun of anybody. It is not to shame anyone.
Right.
We're only looking at that, and while I don't know if I've ever run across a video where it was put up so that someone couldn't shame someone else with a quote unquote gym fail. That is not our mission.
Mm-hmm.
Our mission is to call to mind the exercises or movements that we'll see in these videos, because for as much as there is a population that wants to make fun of those things, there is a larger population that mimics those things.
Right.
And uh, we are not going to get anywhere with evolving um, standardized and safe exercise modalities or movement reconditioning
Hmm.
without some gentle and 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 candid science-backed advice on how to improve those things. You know, like when we see those kinds of videos, it's easier for us to go, "Oh yeah, look at that moron,"
Hmm.
than it is to go, "Oh, is that not how you do that?"
Right.
And and we don't want anybody to be in that situation.
No,
So
it's the whole point of like why we've put together Range and why we're doing these YouTubes and podcasts and things is to again share kind of our collective knowledge from studies, from experience, from various certifications, and working with clients over the well, I guess for you decades.
yeah, this message was brought to you by the Fuck You Academy. Fuck you, John. All
Right.
right, go ahead.
But in all seriousness, though, is a big part of kind of my origin story, right? Was I had a debilitating movement causing pain, um, debilitating pain when moving, and that really was a catalyst for me to relearn and restart my movement patterns and learn how to squat properly, engage my core properly, and what have you. And it just so happened to coincide. It was right when I started becoming a trainer, so it was a good foundational lesson for me.
Mhm.
Well, without further ado, let's get into this. Let me. I got the video up again. Thank y'all to anybody and everybody hanging out with us tonight.
Don't
Sorry, you
worry about
gotta
don't worry
watch the
about not being
sausage
able to
here,
get the video up before this, John.
right?
It happens to everybody.
It happens to everybody. Everybody has these issues.
Everybody can't get the video up at some point or
Why
another.
is it not doing the way it's not working the way I
I
thought it was
guess
gonna
with
work?
some further ado.
Right there it is. Now we can do this,
Here we go.
and I gotta do one more switcheroo because I put the wrong screen up. Bam. Oh, it's still not like how I wanted it to be. There we go. We'll do it live still. I thought I'd fix this. You know what? I bet you it's a different aspect ratio. Gotta hide all the imperfections,
All the bullshit.
right? Don't want you to know my name.
So while John is getting this ready, it looks like this guy's starting with some curls.
Right.
I really hope that's what these are about to turn into.
Yes, these are
Curl.
curls. All right. So these hit pretty quick, so we'll hit them back and go back and forth as we need to.
All right, let's see it.
So this one took me a while to
Okay.
get set going. So
All
in a
right.
moment, there it is.
Okay. Oh my God. Okay. So
Oh, sorry. Mouse cursors. Give training wheel's still on here.
that's okay, man. Okay. So from what I can see there, this person is okay. I didn't see that. Okay. So this person has a resistance band attached to a bar and is doing curls for some added resistance.
Hmm.
Now, do you want to go first?
Well, I was gonna say you're spot on with your visual assessment. The biggest thing I see for this is again if you're wanting to add a band for added resistance and you feel like there's not enough resistance in the band and you have more than tripled, well, I won't say more than tripled, but you've more than doubled the length in the band to get it to where you're standing. You don't need to like you need a different band. The other thing is this is me being from working in a valve shop and working in manufacturing. And I was like the band Nazi at the gym we used to work at.
Mhm.
But I'd look at the bands and I'd look at are they frayed, are they chipped, are they splitting, and things of that nature. I'm not trying to say it's this guy's
Always check
fault,
your rope.
but
Yeah.
yeah, But yeah, so you want to, again, especially when you're doing these kinds of exercises where you're going to be pulling something towards you or what have you, and the potential for it to split and it hits you. You know, I do a lot of exercises with clients where we hold the band in our hands and we're doing pull aparts and such. And there's still the danger of it popping and things of that nature, but the amount of tension in the band is so much less than what he's got going right now. And that's what I mean. There's the green bands, there's the black band, there's the purple bands, all of these bigger gauges, if you will, of
Mhm.
resistance band one could use. And you wouldn't be taking up half the gym space and cutting off half the gym floor with a band going through. The other thing I would add to it is, you might change the vector potentially, depending on what
Mhm.
angle you're working. This one looks a little high and like perpendicular to him. It might be anchored towards the floor, but I would maybe have it closer to the floor and underneath him or underneath the weights, depending on what he's working on too. I mean, again, I don't know what he's trying to stimulate, but if we're trying to get more of a tension on that bicep, we would want that vector, would be my assumption.
So the thing that I always try to communicate with anyone who is trying to condition a body part, whether it's to progressively overload it to get stronger and they don't really have any underlying issue, or if it's to recondition it for reintegration into standard mobility, is the thing that you want to consider first and foremost is the angle of challenge.
Yeah. Yep.
And when you are lifting weight, the force or the aspect, yeah, the force that you are dealing with mainly is the force of gravity,
Use the force, Luke.
right? I was going to say these aren't the weights you're looking, these aren't the bands you're looking for. So the thing is that this gives no indication of being anything other than a standard curl. Now here's the problem, that with a banded curl, if you're doing a banded curl, you are really only getting the resistance challenge, even if it is optimally placed, while the ends of the band are reaching away from each other.
Hmm.
When the ends of the band are retracting and going toward each other, there is
There's
it,
assistance.
well, yeah, there's assistance in you pulling it down, right? Or you bringing it back into starting position. Now, one could argue you could slowly resist that, but
Hmm.
really, it is a genuinely inefficient way to add challenge when this looks to be a really reasonably well equipped gym.
Hmm.
You could accomplish the same thing by adding a couple of 2-pound plates on either side.
Right.
So that's one problem. If now you don't know what this person's working, you don't really feel comfortable with, you might this individual might be trying to get a pump in one state only, only in the concentric aspect.
Hmm.
And if that's the case and you want only that, okay, great. You know, like John said, we don't know what the goal is here.
I mean, I can see you doing some sort of weird stimulation for his shoulder retraction or something of that nature as you're curling, keeping the shoulders back. But I feel like I'm reaching there for a lot.
Well, yeah, and that's combining two movements that if that's the case,
Hmm.
if this person is working on scapular retraction, that's fine. And if they are working on curls, that's fine. But combining them in this method
Hmm.
is while you are creating an angle of challenge that is moving up and down away from the floor, as well as one that is moving toward and away from you, you are minimizing the efficiency of both of those movements.
Right.
So it would be better to isolate them. It wouldn't take long. It wouldn't take long to set up. You could accomplish a lot with a reverse fly that
Oh
is
yeah.
not available here. The other thing that you mentioned earlier is that if you really wanted to get the maximum effort out of this, he could even double up that band. He could make it's right now it's what we call single ply.
Hmm.
It's just, one layer. I mean, you can call it double ply, I guess, if you're counting both sides of the band. But he could double it up and
Yep.
increase the amount of resistance, step through or step onto a portion of the band with his
Yeah.
feet, and create a whole lot of challenge
Hmm.
coming from underneath him.
Basically, making a little V with his
Hmm.
feet as as one anchor, and then the loops of the bands on the bar.
Yeah, well, no, the triangle aspect of it it could be done in a couple of different ways. You could either have the triangle, the wide ends around the outsides of the bar, and then narrow end he's
Hmm.
stepping through, or you could have it where his feet were spread, and
Hmm.
that forms the base of the triangle with the single point of contact
Similar to
being
kind of
where it
how he
is
has
right
it now.
how he has it right now. And then the angle of challenge is along the same plane
Hmm.
as the weight is moving naturally. And then you could focus on stability centric scapular retraction while you're performing the curl.
Yeah.
Uh, I've actually seen a less intense version of this a
Hmm.
number of times. It's just not an efficient way to do any of them. And the last thing is that while I've never seen what happened here happen to anyone performing exactly this kind of movement, we can see here that that is obviously a danger.
Oh, and it just forgot to bring to mind. Got a shout out. We are ripping this off from Fail Army.
Oh yeah,
So give
yeah.
credit where credit is due. So this is some compilation. I guess they call it their dumb workout fail compilation. But again, source
Well,
credit to is Fail Army, but their
the
name.
watermark up the corner there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just want to make sure it was
yeah,
there.
right.
Not trying to slide a
So
quick one by the plate.
yeah, dumb workout fails compilation. So you know that band snapping does present a real danger, and depending on where it snaps,
Yeah.
right? I mean, let's break this down for just a second. Depending on the angle where the bar is when that thing snaps, it is either
Hmm.
gonna. I mean, the best case scenario is that it
He
snaps
gets a
when
little
his arms are
hickey.
about halfway up. What?
I'm gonna say the best scenario is he gets a little hickey or something.
Right. Well, no, is that it snaps on the when it's halfway up and then it hits
Oh,
him in the chest or the
yeah.
abs or something. But where it is currently, and then where it ends up actually snapping, neither one of those are advantageous.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. All right.
Nope. Is it going? Did I click it? I did click it. It just has a little moment. It's gotta get warmed up. Bam.
Oh, yeah. And then wait, really quick on that last one before we continue. We don't need to go back. You, well, I guess you could go back. You can see there where when he drops the weight and it goes flying in front of him, it's actually to his benefit that he had that band right there and taking up all that room, because when this thing snaps and he drops that weight
Oh yeah, he just throws it
and
in
he
front of him.
throws it down, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, that could be really injurious to anybody standing in front of him.
Hmm.
All right, let's see what this person has going on.
Did you catch it?
No, let's see it again.
Get this guy. See, I don't like the.
Do the arrow keys not work on here?
No, I don't.
Oh.
I'll have to use control left, and it goes 10 seconds. So the guy's kicking the
So,
thing behind him.
uh-huh. um, so is one of his feet balanced on there?
No, he's just trying to do a handstand on these parallel bars,
Uh-huh.
and his heel's kicking this thing in the back.
Okay. Okay. And that okay.
And if you've ever hit your heel on something like that, it
Oh
doesn't feel
yeah.
good. But no, it doesn't increment well on this. I'm gonna
That's
have to find
okay.
out. I'm gonna have to change this to VLM. We'll have to do that for next week.
Okay. All right.
So this is
So
this is one I classify this video as like play dumb games, win dumb prizes.
well, right. So the handstand thing,
Oh yeah, I'm sorry not to skip over that one.
uh okay. So the handstand thing there, I mean, I don't is he trying to do a handstand?
Yeah, I think he.
Those are awfully close together for a
Well,
handstand.
again, he's trying to kick up for something. Watch this guy
All
pop
right,
himself
let's
in the
let's
face
see this
again.
guy get popped in the face again, I guess.
This Windows
Wait,
Media
wait.
Player
Can
is
you go
trash.
to the run? Can you go over there to the settings and have it run slower?
Ooh. Oh, that was the opposite of slower, John. All right, last time I swear, last time. But we have to speed it up again. All right.
All right. So no, this person has a leg up already.
No, his leg's right here. You can't see it. It's behind his knee.
Okay.
I would say
All right.
right here.
Uh huh.
I think
Okay.
that's his other leg, and then he's posted up,
All right.
and then he
So slow this
kicks.
video down to
He kicks
like.
this thing back here.
Uh huh.
I got it on half speed. Let me double check. Yeah, quarter speed.
Okay, quarter speed. Let's see it. No, that leg is already up, and because then it comes down.
Well, I don't know what the hell it was up for, but
I think what he was trying to do is some inverted push-ups,
okay.
and um, th- there's nothing wrong with inverted push-ups. I mean, it's a great substitute for an incline movement if you don't have an incline bench and all you have to work with is body weight. There's absolutely no reason not to do them on the edge, not to do them with your feet on the edge of a bed, not to do them like from a position that mimics down dog in yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, Not to put it looks like there's some kind of railing over
Mm-hmm.
there behind him that looks to be very sturdily situated. There's also nothing wrong with him doing these on that dip station that is right there, kind of angled behind him.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, he chose to do this at an angle. And I'm guessing he did this because this is where the camera was most advantageous to set up.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. But this is like kind of the fundamental, like most basic thing is you need to make sure that your surroundings are conducive to your exercise, right?
Yeah, it's exactly what I was thinking
Yeah.
too. Is even if so, my thought he was trying to do some sort of handstand
Uh huh.
on these parallel bar things, and he kicked the thing behind him with his heel. Is what I assumed happened. I
I
didn't think
see.
he had his leg up there or anything. So, but it was just, my same conclusion though was if you're gonna do something that requires like a big, boisterous, wild movement, you need to make sure. Like in grade school, we in PE class, you had to reach out and touch your partner's fingertips
Hmm.
right before you start warming up for exercise. I was like, you
Yeah.
you need to do the same thing in your workout space, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Like, I mean, if you're gonna like practice, like any modality. I mean, if you're going to fencing practice, there's a reason why you don't go to fencing practice in um, like a glass art house gallery or something.
yeah.
Like you don't do that. Anyway, all
Well, I
right, we
also
can't
think
even.
to the video we made earlier today, right? Is this exercise he's doing is not very mitigatable in the way he is set up, and he's not
No.
doing a very wise progression, I would say either. So again, we'll be working on trying to release that later on YouTube, but we were talking about when we're setting or choosing exercises, having them to be mitigatable to where if something's not right, we're able to get out of them and not cause ourselves more damage, which is kind of what seems to happen to this guy. And in some of these power moves or some of these other movements that have a lot of skill base involved, like you're on a knife's edge of what you can control sometimes, especially when there's a lot of
Hmm.
balance, I feel. So being well progressed up to that point is what keeps you safe versus kind of taking big chunks and trying and seeing how you do from there. And I feel that's kind of
So
what happens with this guy is
yeah, yeah, I'm actually gonna add to that
yeah.
if you don't mind. So immediately mitigatable means that you can reduce or eliminate the demand that you are under without further risk of injury, at least in an exercise capacity. When you are doing the aforementioned incline push-ups so that you can focus on like an any kind of an incline movement or whatever, if you're doing that, like let's say from a down dog position
Hmm.
and your arms are about to give out and you're like, oh shit, this is too much, right? Your hands are on the floor, your feet are on the floor, you're in this kind of triangle down dog position and you're doing and you're trying to do these angled push-ups to work on your upper pec. Fine. Gets to be too much, you have some mitigation wherein you can either bring your elbows quickly down on the floor, and hopefully it's something padded. If you've thought ahead, right? It's something padded, and there's not very much travel from the length of your forearm for your
Yeah.
elbow, especially if that is slant, right? There's not very
Right.
much travel for your elbow to go down, so there's not a whole lot of impact. That's just quite frankly possible
Hmm.
in that situation. And if you're doing them properly, it's the same thing if you have your feet raised like on a bed or
Hmm.
in this case on a dip bar or something like that. There are two elements that make this one unsafe and unmitigatable is that in the down dog position, even that there are two mitigation potentials. One is to take the elbows down on the ground. The second one is to take the knees down on the ground. You're going to collapse out of that. Just take your knees down. Take
Hmm.
your knees down first, and your elbows collapse, and then you
Safe.
are yeah. Say you're all but guaranteed a safe disembarkment, right?
Hmm.
Like like the the same thing is sort of true on a if you have your feet on a bed, on a platform, or whatever else.
Yep.
But when your feet are hooked over something like they would have to be here, or if they are in some kind of a strapped in whatever,
Hmm.
you only have one source of mitigation available to you, which is your elbows.
In this case, he's up on blocks.
That's right. His hands are up off the ground.
Hmm.
And really in a position that adds no value.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. All right. That's all I have to say.
Oh, wrong screen. It's gonna be a messy episode. And he says "ow" for a while.
Yeah. Ow. All right. I hope what I'm looking at is not about to happen
Oh, you
here,
know
but if
exactly
it's
what's gonna happen. You
yeah.
know exactly. Again, this is why I said play dumb games, win dumb prizes.
All right. Let's see it.
And it seems like
Okay.
she not only wanted to make a dumb game to win a dumb prize, but she also went at it with a pistol squat.
Yeah.
Like at
There
first, I
are.
thought she was just doing a box squat where she was gonna have both her feet trying to land up there. But
Mhm.
the way that left knee just kind of just kicked out and straightened out was like, nope, this is always a pistol squat.
Yeah. Yeah. Just pausing it right here, like there are 500 things that could go wrong with this.
Yeah.
Um,
And again, it's
let's
not trying to be like your grandpa and saying like, you kids, but it's again, the grand scheme of things, like what are we at the gym for?
yeah.
Like no matter what your health goals or whatever it is, like you're trying to better your body so that way you can go do some stupid shit like this, sure. But like don't do it in the gym. Don't do it as a part of your workout. I mean,
Mhm.
because again, you'll end up either causing a hell of a lot of pain for someone else or you're going to cause a hell of a lot of pain for yourself, and it
Right.
doesn't benefit you. The risk reward, and that's a lot of ways, I guess, I kind of how I look at it
Mhm.
is what's the risk to reward ratio here is. And I enjoy kind of power movements, power cleans and such of that nature, but I don't do a whole lot of them because
Mhm.
there's a very the risk to reward ratio on that is not really in my favor, I don't feel, for the
Mhm.
things that I want in my life and the goals I have for myself. So when I do them, I do them sparingly, so to speak, but I don't go hog wild with them. And I don't make it my only program. I do other
Mhm.
things that are in the ballpark of that. I still do some power things here and there, but I try to mitigate my exposure to unnecessary instabilities and such of that. And again, when
Mhm.
we're doing partner exercise, and there's a couple of them in this video that are like this, that they're these partner things.
Mhm.
And I get it, it's all for the TikToks and whatnot, or the Tic Tacs, or whatever the kids call it these days. But again, it's very dumb.
I'm just curious, did you want them to get off your lawn?
Yes, I
Okay.
do.
So let's just go over some basic setup for this. Even if this exercise, I'm sorry, if this display
Right.
were going to be something that like, oh yeah, like yeah. So the way that you would properly do this one is, even if it was that,
Hmm.
there are a couple of huge problems, and I do mean that they are huge. Uh, Number one, this is a non-affixed platform that she is jumping onto,
Yep.
right? None of those, even those plates, for instance, are not bound together.
I mean, at least they're rubber and they're not like slick metal, it looks like. So they'll be a
Sure, but
little
they could still go
tacky, but
sliding
they're
off
still
somewhere, right?
gonna change and shift and twist around.
Yeah, not it now. The well, let's cover this. Let's cover this in the way that it should get covered first. Those weights aren't bound together.
Hmm.
Uh, Number two, this support person is on a narrow column. If you were going to do something like this, and you should not, let's just categorically say that you should not do this. There's no reason to practice this at all. But even if this person were um, doing even if you were going to do this, and you should not, uh, the person playing support would be far better on a wall
Hmm.
than on a column, simply because of the dynamic nature of impact and force and all of that. You don't know how this person's going to get thrown. You just don't. There's not enough stability in this person's feet for them to for them to be the managing factor in how those forces are displayed, whether or not they go down or whether or not they're going to be non-impactful if they're going to the side.
Hmm.
Which, all that to say this, it could easily throw her off as well,
Yeah.
right? And they have fallen on top of each other.
Well, especially with her jumping out of this lateral angle.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like,
Like if she was jumping at her
yeah,
head first, at least her momentum would be going tangentially into her body,
yeah,
which would be going into the pillar, which
right,
is also how
right,
our body is more like if I'm going to take a hit, I want to take like a hit straight on my body.
mhm,
But this is just football player, right? You're going to want to try to
uh-huh,
collide front on, so to speak, or at least you try to. But if you can get from the side, like you have no chance. You're going to get taken down. Like a ball carrier is going to try to square up into somebody, whereas a tackler is always trying to come them out from the side and get them from the angle where we have less stability and less strength. And so
right,
again, to all that to be saying is again, the supporters to your point, right? Her knees want us to be supporting this way, and
100%.
all this force just came through shearing.
Yes,
Got a
on
John hair here.
non-attached and non-bound weights.
Yep.
The last thing, and this is the most grievous, is that there is no padding behind her.
No, there is. It's right
None.
there.
Yeah, no, there's padding
It's behind
behind
her.
and off to the side, right?
Yeah.
But that's kinda one of those things where, like, a door lock has only one flaw, right? Is that it has to be
Used.
used in order to be effective. That pad, is just as effective as is just as useful to this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm presuming this is a woman,
Mm-hmm.
uh, is just as useful to her right now in this video as it would be if it were located in another state.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, it's as useful as the pad that I have over here, like for
Yep.
rolling and all that shit. So yeah, the crash pad is like not useful, and it should be directly to the side.
Oh yeah.
There just is there is an absolute assumption of safety in this movement that's being performed, when it should be an absolute assumption of risk,
Yeah. And like if this was
right?
something you wanted to do, like again, you'd say in in teasing kind of aside, but if like you were trying to do this circus act,
Hmm.
right? Like part one is you have your support person practice, right, having these plates on her lap like she's probably been doing. And you have partner number two practice this box jump and stick the landing at that particular height and whatever particular landing she's wanting to do it as. And once you've gotten kind of successful with that, then you can start trying to marry up and start adding more complexity to it where you start involving two different people and having to react to each other. I mean, even when I take
Hmm.
it back to like sports analogies, sports ball days, right? Like when we were learning a new play, we would put literally a fire hose down on the ground. We wouldn't even have opponents across, and it would just be line up against the fire hose. And so you knew where your position was, right?
Hmm.
And so again, as you build in complexities, you can add more variables into it. But if you're going to do some sort of kind of circusy act or some kind of showboaty kind of a thing, you have to build your stepping stones into it versus just the swim of, oh, I do box jumps. Oh, look what you're doing. Let's see if we can do it together.
Hmm. Yeah, there's no reason not to make this a box jump first. Even get you know what? Even get a table
Yeah.
that has some really strong, barely too short legs on it,
Right.
right?
So now you got some wobble to
Yeah,
it.
right. Get some wobble to it, and that way this person could set it over their knees.
Mm-hmm.
The jumper could jump onto the table, and then like it balances that
Yeah.
way, and at least you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And barely too short legs, and then the balance gets distributed that way, right? And then gradually shorten those legs
We
a
should
little
write a
more.
program, Paul.
Right. I'm gonna absolute. Oh,
And then the weights don't fall on her.
yeah, yeah. I
I meant to cut this one out
am.
mostly just because I was trying to get rid of the ones that were people being recorded by other people. Um, though this one did make me think of there are different ways to use treadmills.
Mm-hmm.
And you use treadmills this way a little bit. I can't if I record it. If I go back, it goes 10 seconds. So we're just gonna have to stare at this young lady. But like you've done like crawling using treadmills
Hmm.
is a very good way to kind of call a non-traditional use of the equipment that's more appropriate than running a
Hmm.
shopping cart on the treadmill. Um, Again, not knowing what that guy's doing, that one also seems kind of like a clickbaity one.
I mean, yeah, or there could be some kind of a race or
Yeah,
whatever else, you know,
yeah.
preparing for like that supermarket frenzy thing or
There you go.
whatever, you
There you
know.
go.
You know what? There's a safety factor that was not present there for sure.
Hmm.
Because if that cart slides off, you know, and one of
Oh
those
yeah.
wheels stays and the other and all the other, I mean, it's a disaster
Or
waiting to
if he even
happen.
falls and that shopping cart's coming right on top of him as well.
Yeah. Uh, I mean, other than the safety aspect of it, that that brings to mind something that should be said. There is nothing like training for an environment that is quite the same as training in that environment,
Hmm.
right? If you want to get better at swimming
You
and you
gotta
want to
swim.
increase your range of motion at swimming, then maybe do some more swimming, right? Mimicking swimming motions in a gym with some dumbbells in your hands is not the same thing.
Right.
Or in this case, I don't. We'll just say that there's some legitimate reason that that person had a shopping cart on a treadmill and they're running. It's not the same environment. There's twists and turns and things like
Hmm.
that you're going to have to commit to. Even if this person's like in some kind of competition, and if you think, oh my God, there's no competition for that, there are stick horse
Yep.
competitions that people go to regularly. There
Yep.
are cup stacking competitions,
If you
right?
can compete at it, there is a competition
Yeah.
for it
I
somewhere.
mean, no, you know, there
There's the
are,
Guinness Book of World Records for like longest nails and who can
yeah, I mean, there
tallest
are
person.
competitions for, the cup stacking thing. And I mean, it's turned into a just this enormously like this just enormously like blown up kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, if enough people participate in it, and it's not hurting anyone. Okay,
Hmm.
but even if this was, let's just say that this was in preparation for some kind of competition, being on a treadmill is not the ideal scenario for that because it only allows to train in one aspect of the many aspects that need to that need to get hit for that. And it's not a wide enough treadmill to really accommodate for it.
Hmm.
Anyway,
Well, it's the other thing I saw tell people is you get your classic distance runner or long. Uh
no, no, you're good. You were just kind of over
oh.
talking,
My
I guess.
bad.
Yeah. All right. Go
But
ahead.
your classic distance runner, who only runs on tracks or
Mm-hmm.
concrete, they have typically very let's call them weak ankles once they start having to go off of flat surfaces, and so you get a crack in the concrete that causes them to have to land a little funny, and because their
Mm-hmm.
ankles are just so used to just that one plane, they're not used to working in the other planes of motion.
Yeah.
Now you have a weakness that now strains you there, and
Yeah. You
so
have an inability to deal with the topography change, right?
exactly,
So yeah.
exactly. And so again, treadmills lend themselves to that same uh, shortcoming. Is that there?
Well, go ahead.
Well, I mean, there is no change, and that's where trail running can be so beneficial in that it challenges you with that different topography and those different angles of your ankles during that such long trek. I mean, even 30 minutes of doing any one thing is a long is a long bout of any one
Uh huh.
movement. So again, getting those ankles to work in different positions and getting your calves to have to respond to those different uh, angles, so to speak, goes a long way to keeping your ankles healthy and safe. Whereas again, we just do those repetitive things. You slip off, you step on a curb, not expecting it, and now you've rolled your ankle while you're trying to get into work, and that's where it
Hmm.
matters, right?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Let's continue on.
Tally
Let's see what
ho.
this. Okay.
Try
um.
to find this in a. There we go. We'll pause it there.
Now, th- so this is one of those things where I mean I'm not a gymnast. As far as I know, you're not either.
I did gymnastics from like kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. I think maybe even to
Mm-hmm.
third grade. I had ballet, tap, and jazz.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Right on. I did not know that about you. Um, Madonna, Madonna, Madonna. All right. If you know, you know. So, but I will say this. Remember one of the first times I got into sparring practice, like legit sparring practice, not like okay, we're only practicing these four techniques and nobody do anything other kind of shit, right?
Hmm.
Like this is like legit sparring practice. And I was training with one of the instructors and got full on fucking popped in the face, right? Now, I mean, I'd been in scuffles, whatever. Uh, but when you're having like slap boxing match with somebody or you're just horsing around with somebody and then you get popped in the face like I got popped in the face right then, there's an expected apology. And there was none of that,
Yeah.
right? I didn't get that at all. The instructor, I got popped in the face and my head snapped back and I was like, what the fuck? I was a kid, right? But so I didn't say what the fuck. But not that I never said what the fuck, but I just didn't say it in a class environment. So I was like, oh my God. And I like looked at him and he goes, you all right? And I go, yeah. And he goes, all right. And so got ready again. And I was like, what the hell's going on here? The thing is that that's an expected risk,
Hmm.
right?
Same thing for this.
Same thing for this.
Like there are some things I feel, and I know this isn't a Jim fails compilation and such, and to me this is while it is a maybe a failure in the movement, and it wasn't executed to what we expected as far as completion. Like you said, it's a part of the learning curve. Unfortunately, now there are.
Mhm.
I've seen where coaches will try to work with athletes in these, where when they're in that rotation, they kind of help continue and guide that rotation.
Yep.
But even then, it's like your training wheels on your bicycle. There comes a point where you got to take those training wheels off and see how you do without that guidance and have that support, especially on some of these activities. And so, it goes back to, this is part of the reason why I was kind of fighting you the other day about the video as far as mitigation and safety and,
Uh-huh.
things are being safe. It's like, well, some activities we choose to do are just inherently unsafe, right? And so,
Mhm.
what are the things that we can do to make them at least safe ish, where it's not like a
Mhm.
guaranteed injury every time kind of a thing? And things like this kind of come to mind for that. It's, you can mitigate it, you can practice, you can progress, like they're using the right floors. She's not outside on concrete trying to do this or in a school hallway trying to do this. These are springboard mats kind of a thing designed for you to at least fall into and absorb some of the shock. So there's space around her, and so there's not any like obstacles for her to trip over or to catapult into somebody else. So it
Right.
is just like you said, it's one of those things. It's and
Yeah,
we
there's
pick
a
ourselves
lot.
up and we try again, or we say this isn't for
Yeah.
me and we move on.
I would say that the thing that needs to be corrected here the most in this portion is this gentleman back here with a significant external rotation of his feet. Like,
Yeah.
that really looks to be some significant tibial torsion there that should, sir, if you ever run across this video, I really think that you should get that looked at.
Holler
All
at us,
right.
huh?
Right.
Let her writhe in pain for a moment.
Yeah. I
Oh
hope you
no.
got that
Hope you
on
got that on
video.
video. They did. They did, honey.
And she's okay. So, all right, let's see what's going on here. So we got some.
The cable snapped.
Okay. So I I don't know why that would make this person an idiot.
It doesn't,
Um,
other than it's just
yeah,
kind of silly and dopey, and people can like chuckle at them, right? Because it wasn't them.
because honestly, this person's form didn't look bad.
So yeah, on
Um,
on a couple of these cable, there's a couple of cable pops in here,
uh-huh,
and one of the things I always kind of keep in mind, again, it goes back to me working at the valve shop,
uh-huh,
and is just kind of one being aware of the cable you're using. While it's not your responsibility that the gym keeps up with the equipment and make
uh-huh,
sure. This is where those things are. Like if you see a cable fraying or you see a cable housing frayed, it's not wrong to go up to the gym owners and say, hey, you may want to take a look at this, or hey, if
mhm,
you see one of the brackets or things that looks like there just doesn't look right like it normally does, or if you see a clip, one of the little carabiner clips, and it starts looking to
mhm.
be sprawling apart or stretching
Yeah,
apart.
where the gates aren't making
Yep.
contact, that kind of
Like
stuff.
if you
Yeah.
see those things, holler at somebody because that's how you prevent a lot of this stuff. Now he is
So
moving a significant amount of weight, but it looks like
yeah.
and depending on the amount of leg drive he was using too, it's one of those things I also wonder is how much is the system rated for a certain amount of force versus the amount of force kind of being exerted, kind of a deal. But ultimately, I think it really is there's a frayed cable somewhere, so the system's integrity is compromised, and then we get these heavy pulls by a powerful
Mhm.
individual, and then
Yeah.
something goes pop.
I
Fortunately, it's a
I'm
cable and not his shoulder or something. But yes, technique looks
yeah,
pretty
I'm curi
decent.
yeah, his technique looked actually not bad. We're gonna have to watch the girl fail on the flip again, but can you go back for just a second?
Oh, it's control. Oh my god, I went all the way back.
Oh, you went all the way. That's all right. It wasn't. What the hell is going on? That's all right. We can just suffer through that. That's cool. Okay. John, you're killing me with this, man. John, what are
I'm
you
trying.
doing?
I'm trying. It's the little. I'm gonna have to switch it to VLM. VLM is such a better. I believe it's a Microsoft, right?
Okay. So it looks like That's okay.
We'll just watch your homie again.
Okay. I don't know what's going on here. All right.
Ah, I
All
missed
right.
it.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Um, so I'm not quite sure. Th- This machine looks like it's built for upright rows or seated rows. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It looks like it's built for seated rows and pull downs.
potentially. Yeah, yeah, I see what you're
Uh,
saying.
yeah.
So all right, we have
Okay.
here's the little the knee pad.
Right. Yeah.
Here's the hook for the
Right. For
handle.
the row portion, right? Um, and I'm not I'm not seeing, it doesn't matter, but I'm not seeing where that cable is being pulleyed from because it's kind of hidden there. So, can you go ahead and press play?
Oh, let me get in
And
that
let's
window.
just see if we can see this bit by bit.
You see the cable
Uh-huh. Okay.
slumping
Okay.
underneath there.
Yeah.
It's
So
slumping
maybe we
under here
can't.
somewhere.
Yeah. So maybe we can't see that. Okay, it looks like it might be kind of under that pulley. It's not important. I just want to make sure that he does appear to be using this machine properly. Is
From the
all I was trying
briefness
to
that
get
you
at.
can tell in that short rep,
Yeah.
I like the
Yeah.
only thing I can think of is again he's doing more of a low back, lean back kind of
Yeah,
pull.
I mean, I get
But
it, but I mean, he's not doing anything wrong. He might
right,
not be doing things optimally, but he's not doing anything wrong and he's a strong dude,
yep.
So,
So
uh
again, that's where I
I would.
default back into that sense of when you're using cables, you need to check your cables as best you can.
Mhm.
And if you like the cable machine, report when things aren't going right because you'll end up like this cat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, not to
All
be your
right.
daddy.
Yeah. All right, let's see what's going on here.
Parkour. Did you ever
Okay.
see that episode of The Office?
I've seen clips of it
But anyways,
forever.
forever.
Okay. So this, I don't know what this person was really going for in the end. We didn't get to see the finished product, but this is another one of
Uh
those
oh.
things where what?
What up? You're getting sexy gray hair vibes. You got a fan.
What?
Thank you,
Oh my
Lewis.
god.
Sexy 099.
uh Louise
He,
XO99. Well,
he is a
thank you
daddy.
very much. Oh, that person's gone.
Oh,
Okay,
well,
well, that was
flattering.
that was unexpected. Uh,
Take what we
I,
can get.
I guess so. Just says that and then dips.
Well, you
Let's
know.
see.
But
What's
to
that?
me, these are one of those things too. Though is I get exercise anywhere and fitness anywhere and things of that nature. But again, if you're depending on the maneuvers or the type of techniques you're trying to do, you really need to make sure that your surroundings are fitted for such. So if you're going to be doing some sort of kipping pull up or muscle up kind of thing or gymnast movement, make sure that the thing is bolted to the wall properly and things of that nature. It takes I know again it comes back to these kind of silly kind of checks and making sure your equipment's proper, and we don't think about that necessarily when it comes to gym things, but when you're doing, especially on equipment that's not intended or doesn't ever use, like this dude's using a laundry line or something like that to parkour and do all kinds of Simone Biles want to be it.
Well,
You're just doomed to
so
fail. I feel like maybe pull ups would have been okay, and he could have gotten away with that. But then once we get all this herky jerky motion going through it, it's over.
so if you've ever taken like any kind of like a like a rod, a wood or a metal rod or whatever, any like a dowel, like a closet dowel or something,
Mm-hmm.
and you held it out parallel to the floor at at arm's length, and then dropped it. It would hit the ground and then bounce, right?
Yep.
Like the ends would bounce and whatever. So right here, when this guy jumps over this initially, you have an inconsistent application of force,
Yep.
which is going to make those ends bounce up and down and all that, right? And so it's sort of like shaking a clothesline
Mm-hmm.
or like any kind of a cable or whatever, right? It's going to cause that reverb all the way through. It, John, what the fuck? Um,
Keep you on your
all
toes.
right. Uh, Luis XO 99, thank you so much for the compliment. I really appreciate it.
Keeping them young. Keeping them young. Continuing on.
Uh, yeah, continuing on. So yeah, just make sure that you're using equipment that is number one able to support you, and number two, even that is still not a complete um, list of demands that you should have for the equipment. Not only should it be able, it should also be constructed suitably to do
Right.
so. Like
Right.
this person probably would. Let me put it this way: on this setup this person had, they probably would have been able to do pull-ups just fine,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But jumping up and over that thing and causing this incomplete application of force, or I'm sorry, inconsistent application of force, all of a sudden turned it into something that now the design of
Right.
object that the incorporation of these objects that separately would have been able to handle it, now they can't,
Right.
and so they fall. All right.
Got some
I'm glad this
explaining to do.
person's okay.
Yeah.
All right, what do we got here? This looks like a resistance band exercise. Pullover, not a bad
Mm-hmm.
movement. I mean,
And
all
now
the
you got to keep in
things.
mind though, this is at quarter speed.
Yeah.
So he
Okay.
he is he is
He's going
cranking
4
the
times as fast as this.
exactly.
I don't know what happened there.
And so when you watch this full speed, this guy is like,
Uh-huh.
and I think he loses some sort of balance, and that must be a heavy band he's using. And so he
Okay.
loses his stability and his balance because of how fast he's cranking it. And it's similar, I think, to what you're explaining earlier with the dowel or the metal pole having this kind of unbalanced force load going through it.
Oh, inconsistent application of force, yeah.
And so when you have this big heavy band, and I'm not exactly sure, like it's doing some sort of pullover motion or tricep exercise, it looked like.
Mhm.
But if you're
Yeah.
in this really lengthened out position in one knee, it's a very unstable position to begin with, and then you're trying to
Mhm.
exert this force over and through. It's again just adds more instability to the system, and if you're really going
Yeah.
fast and furious about it, it takes it's again kind of like being on a bicycle. As long as you're going straight, it's fine. But as soon as you try to take a hard right turn, right, you'll tip over and fall. Or if something comes over from the side and pushes you over, you fall real easily. And so when
Mhm.
he's in this half kneel position, one knee's up, one knee's down, that vector gets him a little offline of where his balance is. And now he has this kind of slipping out, crashing effect that I think is what we end up seeing.
You know, on that,
Hmm.
so you have to take into account, and this is not something that really ever gets discussed, is that just because you have two remotely, apparently balanced sides of your body that look like they are probably equal, there are different stability factors that each of them face. Now, this person probably in the previous thing, he probably would have been a lot better suited had both knees been on the ground.
Yeah.
But as a result, he has one leg in one expression in front of bent and in front of him, and the other leg in another expression bent and knee down, foot behind him, where muscles that don't perform the same function are being challenged equally or being challenged differently.
Right.
Um, and those things fatigue in different ways at different speeds,
Now
right?
he could, potentially switch, during sets or halfway through the set, switch knees, switch posture, and
Hmm.
work in that way, and at least you're a little bit more balanced and a little bit more even.
Or done a squat, right?
Right.
And
Yep.
stayed in the
That's a
squat
different
position and done
variation.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. All right, let's see this next one. So far, this doesn't look horrible, except for that. Yeah, exactly. That, yep. And there we go. Okay.
And this is again one of those kind of I feel like is a theme in some of these is not having your equipment properly
Secured.
secured, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing about this is that there's not much that can be accomplished with this movement that you can't get out of just a regular squat.
Yeah, I know hip thrust
Um,
or squat, or I guess it's hip thrusters, are quite a popular movement as of late.
it really is.
I have yet to do one myself, really. I do
Um,
glute bridges from
well,
time to time, more as an activation
sure.
as a warm up, but I've never done
Yeah,
weighted hip extensions.
yeah. So the thing here is that for exactly this reason that we just saw here, there's really very limited available range for you to perform it safely.
Hmm.
And for exactly this reason, right? And until a piece of equipment gets designed specifically for this thing. Now, what this person could have done, honestly, and would have been way better off for it, is to turn the bench so that because this looks to be an adjustable bench,
Hmm.
right? That can go from incline to declines.
Yep.
So what this person could have done, what she could have done is taken the foot end of the bench and put it up against the wall and then angled um, the adjustable back of the bench, the adjustable flat back of the bench down so it's in a decline position.
Okay, so that where the bench is
And
down here,
what's that? Yeah, where the bench is down there. But can you give me the ability to draw on this?
I can if I can figure it
Thank you.
out.
Just got to go and
Just do it.
click the button. Thank you. Okay.
You've got
So
the power.
okay. So if the bench were set up this way, right, with the back end of the bench uh over here. And the foot the lever part of it, there's a wall over here,
Yep.
and the
Yep.
back end of the bench is, there's the footing and all of that and the adjustable portions of it, whatever.
So she could lean on the
And
on that part of the bench on
so
the
she's
decline.
leaning on that part of the bench,
I was
right? And
thinking,
then
I
her
was thinking she just take that bench over to where that wall is and just put that bench into the wall. It doesn't have
well,
anywhere to
yeah, but
tilt.
whenever she would go
Yeah,
back,
it would rock.
yeah, yeah.
The
Um,
the old gym we used to work at, they actually had a hip thrust machine or a hip thrust
uh-huh.
bench, and it wasn't solid metal, but it was definitely it was maybe three pieces of metal where they had two pieces of plate that went on a flat piece that kind of
Mhm.
came to a bench or
Yeah.
yeah, a seat, and they even had loops on there for resistance bands to use for it, but it was
Mhm.
probably about half the height maybe of that bench, right? To where
Yeah.
you weren't in this awkwardly inclined position when your shoulders were flat.
Mhm.
That way your shoulders weren't above your knees, but rather your shoulders and knees were on the same plane with this bench in particular I'm speaking of.
Right.
But
So
again, it's to your point though. I feel is it's a lot of setup, it's a lot of headache, and you get a lot more benefit and a lot more of your whole body being able to work when you're doing it as a full body squat or some other
right.
variation of a squat. Now, I guess maybe
When
if you had
they're
some really short hip flexors or something,
uh-huh.
like maybe this could be a good corrective exercise or something of that nature kind of a deal. But again, you're
Uh-huh.
still doing the same thing with a squat. It's just you're changing the vector of force and maybe some
Right.
of that neurological connections with how the muscles work. But again, if it floats your boat, by all means. But there's other varieties too that you can get out there. And
It yeah, it's not a shit
no,
exercise, but this version, there are other and better ways to get it done. All right. And I hope she's okay. Oh, you know what? Actually, let's just talk about the injury potential here. There's
yeah,
no padding underneath her.
yeah,
Again, there is an assumption of safety here. She has padding where the bar
or hips.
meets her waistline, right? Or her hips. But there's no padding underneath her at all.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the foot of this bench, or the footing
Oh,
looks like it's about to hit her in the back once she falls, or once it falls. Anyway, so
yeah,
there are
right
other and
here.
better ways. Yeah, that's about to hit her in the back or the side or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And there's no reason to assume that can't crack a rib.
No,
So
yeah. If nothing else, it can really hurt.
right. Anyway, so let's go ahead. Oh, okay. She recovered well from that. Good for you. Demonstrating some real core strength there. All right, what do we have here? Single armed. Is this one of those things? Okay, and hit the light. Okay. The This is one of those things where, like we've said it before, you have to be aware of whether or not the environment that you're in can handle what you are going to use it for.
Yeah, again, it's going back to kindergarten school where you raise your arms
Mhm.
around and everything of that nature, making sure you're clear of spaces and obstacles and all that before. And we take it for granted when we do overhead things a lot of times. We don't
Mhm.
realize the space that we need for overhead, especially when you have equipment in your hands. That takes up another inch or two. Was it
Mhm.
there's another video online somewhere where there's a guy doing these jump squats in his room and he has weights or something and he ends up
Mhm.
punching the weights through the ceiling or something like that because he doesn't,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it happens. But again, it's one of those things where yeah.
Yeah, and I noticed that there's nothing wrong with working out barefoot.
Nope.
Sure. I mean, do whatever you want. There is some potential for reconsideration when you are doing jumping movements,
Yeah.
plyometric movements with weight that can leave your hands.
Yeah.
Uh, and now, hopefully, this person doesn't have to walk through broken glass to get anywhere.
Hmm.
All right. Anyway,
And we
that's
can't run it back, but it's one of those things we can nitpick a little bit on the technique as well. But I think
yeah.
the ultimate fail here, I mean, the technique, there's some things that I noticed, again, being more of a toe kind of driven squat and things of that
Hmm.
nature. And again, this is one of those things where overhead dumbbell snatches are not a bad exercise by any means, but they are a complex exercise if you are new to working out or not sure how to squat properly or how to properly overhead press. And then again, when you have obstructions around, that just makes the hazard a little more exciting, right?
Hmm. It does indeed. Oh, all right. Let's see. Okay, pause it right there. All right. There's nothing that you can't achieve with this that you can't achieve with another box,
Yep. Yep.
right? I see this thing happening all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I
It's
can't recall
progressive
one.
overload.
Yeah, I can't recall one that didn't end the way that I know that this is about to.
Salud.
Thank you. Um,
Yeah, there's a couple of things I would say
anyway.
too. On first off, is like the height is ridiculous. The setup is absurd. The other thing is box jumps really shouldn't be a running jump.
Yeah.
Like a true box jump is you're gonna be up near your platform, like maybe a step into it if you're really trying to bolster,
Mhm.
but you're not trying to create horizontal momentum. You need to create vertical momentum. So being far away as this guy's running up to it doesn't really benefit him in the grand scheme of things. When again, we're
Mhm.
really working on a vertical. drive.
Yeah. I mean, there are other ways that you could do this.
Mhm.
You could, if it's really important to you, there are plenty of like highly flexible, bendable
Mhm.
poles. That like if you hit them while you're trying to jump over them, nothing happens, right?
Well, but I mean, even to that point, right? Like, if we look where he's in a just a shit of a like he quite literally looks like a dog shitting right now, right? We got
Right.
the rounded back, the ass tucked underneath him. His knees
Uh-huh.
are as high as they're gonna get for him where he is, and his foot is maybe over that second plate.
Yeah.
So again,
Yeah.
this is where is maybe sure you can get your foot and you can get yourself up on top of there, but your
Hmm.
squat is absolutely atrocious when you're there, which means when you stand up from there, you're standing up with an atrocious squat. So if you are working on box squats and you're trying to push yourself, first off, how's your landing? Are you sticking your landing in a good squat, or are you
Hmm.
just getting there? Because if you're just getting there, you need to regress and work on trying to land in the bottom of your squat. Trying to
Hmm.
land with good technique and then stand up. And then you can start adding that weight. Because by doing those little things, you're going to keep, again, I always go back to the safety aspect of it, but you're going to keep yourself in the game longer so you can keep practicing and doing these things and playing these kind of games. Like, and if you are truly working box jumps for the benefit of them, you're working them from power, which again, power is force and speed. So how fast can you, how's the heaviest thing you can move, the fastest you can move it. And so again, having that in mind for box jumps, they shouldn't be about fatigue or, going until you're just seeing stars. It's about trying to be as explosive as you can, get yourself down, reset, do it again. Not this like puddle of sweat and tears that I
Yeah.
feel and scat and torn up shins.
you know, a far safer way to do this, really, get a pool noodle.
Okay.
Get a pool noodle. Just yeah, get several of them. They are like 90 for like $10. I don't. They're not that
Right, right.
inexpensive, but they are not expensive. And you can practice this all you want. And even if you fell on it, it wouldn't turn you into a popsicle.
Mm-hmm.
So just get a pool noodle, cut them to different heights. Get a bunch of them. They're reusable. It's a fantastic way to get it done, and it is far safer than what I am
Gonna witness here in a
unfortunately about
second.
to witness here.
The other thing is if when you do land them, don't hop off. Right when you.
Oh, it's is he trying to land on top of this?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh my god, I thought he was trying to jump
No,
over
this is I
them.
think this is
Oh
a
my
box jump.
god.
He's trying to land on that thing, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I mean, if he's trying to
Okay.
jump over, I mean, again, it's way too much height. But
Well, and his foot
yeah, that's what I was saying. His
is
foot is only
way
two
too far down.
two of
Okay,
those
okay. I
things.
was operating under a different impression. All right.
Yep,
I was thinking he was trying to jump
clear it. No, I'm
over.
pretty sure he's trying to jump on top of it. It was my
Okay. All
assumption.
right. Well, yeah.
We'll see here in a second, huh?
Yeah.
But if you are doing box jumps again, if you once you do successfully get on top and you land it, walk yourself down, climb yourself down. Don't pop
Yeah.
off because that's a blown Achilles waiting. So let's see what happens with this guy. Yeah, he teabags it and then falls off.
Was he, I feel like he was trying to I can't.
All
Okay.
right.
I don't know what's happening here.
This
I
is
don't know
just
what this
somebody
person.
videotaping someone in the wild. A driver's doing sit-ups in their car.
Okay. So it looks like there's a big traffic jam here, and this person's just doing some sit-ups. Who knows why? One needs to stay awake. That's a taxi.
Hmm.
Got a long night. You know, embodiment of the phrase "when you can, where you can."
Yep.
So kudos to this person. Yeah. The only thing I would argue is that if this person's a taxi driver and presuming that they spend a lot of their time doing that, they spend a lot of their time in a hunched over position. So maybe try and adjust those sit-ups where your back is long. I'm sorry, your back is contracted, your spine is
Hmm.
long in the front, and then when you're coming up, you are doing more of a hip hinge to challenge the abs
Yep.
than you are doing an ab
Then like
crunch.
curling yourself up
Yeah,
or rolling
then
yourself up.
curling yourself up. But otherwise, not a damn thing wrong with working out
You know,
in whatever
honestly,
capacity
it
you can.
reminds me of what I teach a lot of my clients, or like share with a lot of my clients. I call it playing the game, though. It's, if you're standing in line for coffee, try to stand in your heels with soft bent knees drawn into your core and work on a good deep diaphragmatic breath, or you're feeding the
Snatch your hips and
animal.
stand on one leg.
Yep, yep.
Yep.
Or if you're feeding the animals, try to use a good squat to get down to their food bowls, or use a good hip
Mhm.
hinge to get down to their food bowls. And you just find little ways to play games with movement that you're already stuck somewhere. You're not. I always kind of wonder, like, I don't think anybody's coming up with the answer to end world hunger, or answer to world peace while they're standing in their coffee line, right? So I know there's a lot of big things we work on and think about in life, but sometimes just taking a moment and taking a pause and seeing how we're moving our bodies, and just kind of giving them a second to be in a conscious position versus an unconscious relaxed position is a good
Mhm.
practice, I find. And again, if you're new to working out, practicing engaging the core and getting a little bit of that breathing is a good one, because the more chances you practice it, the better you'll be and more successful you'll be when you are working out. But let's move on to this gentleman who looks like he's about to
All
make
right.
a diamond.
Yeah, let's do one more. Let's check this out.
So again, this is another
So
exercise band,
so this guy is doing quadricep extensions.
and he's not a small guy, and he is using
Mm-mm.
again a small band. Like that red band is maybe 10 pounds of resistance, maybe 15 at most.
Yeah, and I noticed that he's got it wrapped around twice, which is presumably to increase the amount of tension available, or to increase the amount of tension
Mm-hmm.
in the band so that it's harder when you could achieve the same thing by doubling the ply
Right,
of it
right,
or getting a heavier band, right? All
right.
right. So let's see what's going on. I'm assuming this thing's going to snap.
Well, of course.
So he does look like he's got this going 2 ply. That's what it was. Okay. Yep. And here's the challenge, right? Again, if you were going to do that, there would be nothing wrong with wrapping a band around that, even though I will say that is not what that equipment was intended for. If you really wanted to do that, you should wrap it around the metal part of it, not crease and put
Yeah,
precise and acute tension on that cushion because that'll just end up ruining it
yeah.
eventually. But around that metal part where the cushion,
Mm-hmm.
around that stem where the cushion sits, oh yeah, I could, yeah, around that part, there's nothing wrong. There'd be nothing wrong with getting a weight plate down here, attaching the resistance band, and making it go there. So that way, when he was
Mm-hmm.
angling the apparatus up, even if that band was going to snap, it would snap upward.
And again, it's going back into using vectors properly, right?
Right.
The vector he had, while that's maybe where the cable pulley is, the way that machine works is
Hmm.
it's got a little cantilever here, and then it runs the cable maybe back here, and then there's another little cable over here and a pulley over here that gets that cable, however it gets to make that movement happen. Whereas when he's
Yeah.
putting the band here and having it go back this direction, again, he's not really putting any more additional force on his quad. There might be a small, tiny little bit of resistance being added, but in the grand scheme, it's he's going into the machine, so to speak. He's
Hmm.
pulling this pad, if you will, into the machine, which isn't
Yeah.
really again doing anything for his quads so much as like you said. If he puts, even if he were to tie it off somewhere here at the bottom
Hmm.
of the floor and then looped it around this piece here, again, that would give
Hmm.
him more of a peak contraction kind of a deal. Now, the other thing I would say
Right.
on these
An assisted
or an
eccentric
eccentric,
effort. Right.
that too. But the other
But it
side
would
of this,
be
I
a.
think, is again, I don't know his logic or his reasonings. So, but a lot of times I find bands are really excellent for, again, if you're trying to do some sort of power training where you're
Mhm.
trying to again create a powerful explosion, and as your muscles contract, their contractile ability gets stronger, and as the band gets longer, it puts more resistance into you. So the way that bands curves work with our muscles natural force curves, If
Mhm.
you're looking at charts as far as curves, not your not your curves. But the bands work really well with that regards. But in some of these exercises, it doesn't necessarily look like that. These are necessarily people trying to do power efforts. I've used bands before to help maybe give like you said, to help with the eccentric a little bit, to maybe give it a little bit more
Uh-huh.
of a natural feel. So, like on pull up assist, I'll use a band on the assisted portion where you put
Mhm.
your feet so that way you don't feel like you get launched back up to the
Yeah.
top. It
Yeah.
gives just a little bit of resistance to kind of fight that launching effect. But we're not,
Mhm.
again, we're not pulling against this band on top of whatever other mass we're using on it.
Right.
Um,
Uh,
I don't know. It's just
the
again, I
thing
find
that
it just it's like one of these fads that people take too far, and so we use a band here, and we can use a band there, and we can use a band here, and
yeah. Well, and the thing about that is that, yeah, I mean, it would require some real understanding of physics, to take into account that with the band wrapped around this like this. Hang on, let me clear all this. With the band wrapped around, which is what it was doing, it was wrapped around this like this and went back
hmm
here, right? And as you bring that up with these angles being like that, that band, if it snapped from back here, which is what it apparently did, and it unwraps, and then it's going to sling in directions that you can anticipate.
no,
You can anticipate them, but you are really unable to determine where they're going to snap from. It could have easily snapped at the cushion and then unwrapped
yep,
and
went
gone
behind them.
toward gone toward the underside, which is a reasonable thing, but it's also a reasonable thing to assume that it might go at your face.
Well, I mean, hell,
Um,
it got him in in the groin there, so
yeah, or at your groin. So there's there when you're going to use bands, you need to include an assumption of risk. And so you really, really need to mitigate that risk as much as you can, such as what we were talking about earlier. With, I mean, you had a great representation of it, John. Um, Better one than I did, I thought. Which is if he were to have taken some kind of anchor right here and
hmm
attach the band to it and then had the band attached there, then I don't want to say what that looked like. Um, anyway, the band was like there. That force would only travel either it would only travel that way,
yeah,
right? So if that band had gone flying up and snapped, it wouldn't have been a big deal. There is no point at which that band could have offered that person any harm. So bands have a lifespan, no matter how
yep.
well you take care of them. Just like a rubber band, you can only stretch it so many times before it is just going to snap.
And my clients
All of
always
them are
love it when
like
I
that,
buy new bands.
right? They are all like that.
hmm
And no matter what's advertised, they are all like that. So assume that there's risk. The great thing about iron, right, or when you are moving weight, is that it is really hard for that to break down. It is
hmm
really, like it's going to last longer than you do. So it only has a couple of points of failure, and usually those are with the person using them.
Right.
So keep that in mind with a band, because the points of failure with a band are just as much on the possibility of the band failing as you using it incorrectly. And if
Yep.
you marry those two things, that's real potential for injury.
Yep. Yep.
All right.
Well, I mean, we got more to go, but we got life to live. So we're gonna put a fork in it there. We'll have some more gym failures and video analysis next week. But as always, oh,
Well,
Paul's looking for
well,
something.
wait. We got through 1 minute
Yes,
of the video, right?
yes, and
When
it's
there are
20 and it's 21
21 total
minutes.
minutes. So, we have the next 2 years worth of content out of this one
Right.
video. Anyway, if you want to get a hold of us about proper form or technique on anything that you've seen here or anything else, or you have a question about some episode of our podcast or YouTube video that you've seen, feel free to reach out. We're on all the platforms. Feel free to go there and reach out to us on one of those on one of those avenues. Or if you want to visit us at our website, rangefitnessonline.com, please feel free. And until then, until
Stay
next
mindful
time,
as fuck, y'all.
don't compensate. Sir John.
Paul, be well. Have a good night. Thank y'all all for hanging out with us tonight. Look forward to seeing y'all
Yeah,
next
and
time.
thank you again, Louise XO 90 99. No,
Calm down,
unexpected and
daddy.
very
Calm
appreciated.
down.
Thank you. Yeah.
Ease those
Um,
vibes.
all right, man.
All right,
Anyway,
sir.
thank you very much, everyone, and we'll see you soon.
See you
Bye.
later.
All right, man.